Welcome everybody to Parent with Purpose. We have another guest who is going to be a huge resource for you as an adult and a parent. Someplace that you're going to be able to go when you know in your heart that something isn't right with a child that you know, or even if it's your own child. We have been talking in the past about what you should be doing as a parent or an adult in a child's life that you can do that will help protect those children. Because if we can break this cycle of hurt and broken, we're going to have a much better society. And honestly, none of us as adults want to know that somehow a child got hurt and we could have done something about it and we did it. Really? So today our goal is to help give you the tools that you need in order to be able to be your little part of the world that will help break that cycle. So today we have with us Cruzz Control, and that is her handle.
Yes.
As part of the Guardians of the Children. So I want you to tell us a little bit about that organization, what you do, and how parents and adults can use this as a resource in their life.
So Guardians of the Children are a great group of people who come together to help abused children. We will do whatever it takes to make a child feel protected and safe. So if they're going through a court case and they want some support in the court, we'll go and we'll sit in that courtroom. If they need some support, going to school because maybe they're feeling bullied there, we'll help them with that too. We'll contact the school, whatever it takes, we'll drive them to school. It feels nice to be supported and surrounded by people
Yes.
who are truly caring. The mission of the Guardians of the Children is to recognize and react to child abuse and educate the public to do the same, to serve as advocates, to provide strength and stability to families in crisis, and be the answer to the prayer of an abused child or teen for courage, support, and protection. The mindset to go forth and educate people on what to look for children that are being abused. So my whole thing is always, there are no bad children in this world. There's no child that ever wakes up in the morning and says, I'm just gonna go out and be a really angry person and make everybody hate me today. Nobody ever wakes up wanting that, especially children. So when we're seeing things like that, we need to be able to recognize that, wait, there's a problem there. We need to look into that and see what's going on. The public tends to turn a blind eye to things and think that, children just misbehave for whatever other reason, and we don't pry into it. We don't ask the questions. And I get, it's hard when you see a child misbehaving to not want to just think that, they're just having a hard time and, it's not my concern or whatever. But when you work with that child on a constant basis and you can see it over and over and over again, you need to be able to stand up and say something. So really we're about empowering children, but also educating the public to do the same.
So this is a personal question, is that there's an awful lot of parents out there that just let the kids run amok.
Yeah.
And they become a behavioral issue. How do we differentiate really just the child being allowed to do whatever they want to? I mean, that's abuse in some form of itself.
Yes.
To a child being traumatically abused mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally.
Well, when you think about children that are just allowed to go and do whatever, that's a neglect situation. And when you have neglect, that is trauma. It's trauma for a child. It's just a different form of trauma. It's not nice to come to a house where you're not feeling like you're wanted or heard or loved. And if you're an inconvenience and you're just pushed off, just go do whatever. Here's $20, take off. That's traumatic. That's saying you're not worth my time. You're not worth my time, and I'm not here to spend time with you. So that in itself is traumatic and sets our kids up to fail over and over again. And then you have that bad behavior because when you're pushed out and left on your own, you're going to be opened up to so many things out there on that street. So there's drugs that come into play because you're not feeling very proud about yourself because no one's there to pick up those pieces for you or talk to you or even just tell you, hey, I love you, kiddo. What's going on today?
Feel proud.
Right, right.
Sense of accomplishment, anything, because nobody's really doing that.
Right. So you're opened up to so many things that can come into your life and just drag you down. Your behavior could possibly go off the rails. Yeah, absolutely. Because you're crying out. You're crying out. Kids don't process things. They don't have the ability to process things like us adults do. And let's face it, adults who are put in very traumatic situations don't even have the processing ability to be able to process it properly in that moment.
Not
right?
in the moment, for sure. And sometimes not even yet.
It takes a long time, if not years, if not ever.
Yeah.
But yet we expect children to be put in traumatic situations, whatever trauma that might be. It could be a divorce, it could be abuse, it could be sexual abuse, it could be, there's so many different things. And we expose them to this, and then the behavior that results is so extreme in cases.
So when we have these children and they have these behavior problems, let's say they're not my children, and I just see a child and I can recognize it now from being educated from all of you lovely ladies that there is obviously a bigger issue here. I've done what I can to kind of, listen, show that I care, but I know that you're the ones that are skilled at this. So your organization, the people who volunteer, it's all volunteer?
All volunteers.
Okay, so what is that crowd look like? Who are these people? Where do they come from?
It's diverse. It's very diverse. And we come in for reasons of our own. It might be that we just really wanted to help people. It could be that we've had childhood trauma ourselves, or we have children that have trauma, or, we've known children that have trauma, or we just work in the industry and we know what's needed. There's many different reasons. I myself, like I said, I've worked in the industry for some time. I've seen what trauma does to children. I really feel like we have some injustices with our justice system. I feel like we don't protect children. We don't give them enough of a voice. My daughter has been sexually traumatized. I myself am a sexual abuse victim from my childhood. Well, no longer a victim, I am a survivor. I don't live there anymore.
I love that. I love that.
Very happy to say that, actually. It took me a long time to get to that point where I don't live there. That is not me. I've taken that experience and I've learned from it, and I've pushed past it, and I use it to help others, which is, I think, a healthy way for me to look at it.
You brought up a little bit about what's happened to you personally. Were you that typical child that acted out and was always rambunctious, and everybody kind of like, wow, they notice you because you're just that kid?
No. I was the little adult, and actually had that title. Like, people, my parents' friends would call me, oh, it's the little adult, because I would always sit at the adult table and I would sit there and quietly, children are to be seen and not heard, kind of typical thing. I didn't act out in school. I wasn't scholarly. I wasn't like straight A student, but I wasn't below the line either. So it really went unnoticed. I didn't do anything extraordinary. I wasn't in sports. I wasn't, I didn't put myself out there because my self-esteem didn't allow me to be.
You were quiet and reserved.
Very quiet and reserved. I'm still, I have a little spunk. And I think that's what got me through, actually, is because I might be a whole lot of sweet, but I can be a whole lot of fire too. So my husband will tell you that. I've been able to actually pass it on to my kids too, which I think gets them through. Like I said, my youngest daughter has been sexually traumatized. I'm so proud of her because she come forward, which I know as a victim, a survivor, that is one of the most difficult things to do. Not only to admit to yourself that A, this wasn't your fault and you didn't do anything to deserve it and it was done to you, but B, that it actually happened. So when she was able to come forward and talk about it and then decide whether or not she wanted to go to the police, and I wasn't pushing her because it's her trauma and it's her story. Yes, she's my child, but she is an individual, and it's her trauma, not mine. So when she decided that she was going to go to the police, I was, wow, really? Okay, yep, we're gonna do this. And she has stuck with it. She's had her hardships because of it, for sure. We're going through a lot with her.
It's not easy.
But she wants to take her experience and she wants to actually become a lawyer because she, more importantly, a prosecutor. She's not happy with the way that the system works, so she wants to do something to change it. She's 14, almost 15, so
So like her mama, she's
she's
actually picking
got
up the
some
pieces and doing
she's
something
got some
with
spit
it.
and fire in there too. Yeah,
That's
so,
awesome.
So
Honestly, that's very good.
Yeah.
So let's quickly just kind of give the audience the opportunity to understand what kind of behavior could possibly, because we've already heard a couple examples. So give me a quick rundown of anything that we could like be trigger signs for us to know.
So the biggest thing is that trauma is so individual. What might be very traumatic for me might not be very traumatic for somebody else, and because of that, the behavior is going to be very different as well. With children, because they can't process what's happened to them, it can go from, like we said before, bedwetting, nightmares, acting out in school. So if you have a student who's normally very quiet and happy, and all of a sudden they're like, screw you, and throwing their paper across the room, what's happened? Because that's a remarkable change. Some students you might find, or kids, you might find that were once very outgoing, all of a sudden aren't, and are clammed up. There's something going on there. There are no bad children. There's no behavior that a child presents that doesn't have a goal. So we always need to look at what is the goal of the behavior. Is the behavior to tell you, hey, there's something wrong with me? Is the behavior to say, I want that cookie? There's always a reason, but you have to ask the questions. You have to be there and be present, have that rapport with the kid. I mean, I can't walk into a room with 10 kids that I've never met before and go, oh, traumatized. I mean, I probably could see the trauma.
That's your training.
But I can't then go to that kid and say, oh, sweetheart, tell me what's going on in your life. Because they might look at me and go, lady, get out of here, I'm not talking to you. And how weird is it for a traumatized child to be introduced to one person in one day and say, hey, I know everything about you, come tell me about all that's wrong in your life. That feels very wrong too. You gotta have a rapport there.
And how do you build a rapport?
There has to be a connection. When I work at the school, so I'll work with kids, and you get to know them as a person, and then when you're spending time with them and you notice these changes or whatever, then it's appropriate for you to ask. If you don't have a rapport with a child and you think there is something wrong, you need to tell somebody that has that rapport with the child. You need to report that. You need to put it somewhere where you know that child's going to get help. You can't just leave it. You can't just pretend like you didn't see it. Oh, well, yeah, I think something's going on there, but I'm not going to deal with it because I don't know this child very well. You have to then give it to the appropriate person. You're obligated to find where that appropriate person is.
But see, I think that's part of the brokenness in our system. We automatically then just call Children's Aid, and Children's Aids do not have a rapport with this child right now.
No.
What would you suggest that we do if we're not the person to have a rapport? Do you suggest going to Children's Aid? Like, how is that what your organization does? Like, that's, as a parent, and I saw some things at school, honestly, I felt like my hands were tied because I knew that they could possibly go to a foster home that could be worse than what they were in. And I wasn't sure what they were in. I couldn't seem to get a child to open up because I wasn't in their circle of trust. So what do we do?
Find the person that is in their circle of trust.
And how do we do that?
Maybe their teacher. If it's in a school system, does their teacher have a good rapport? There's usually one trusted adult, at least. I pray, please let every child have at least one trusted adult, whether it's that teacher, that EA, that, the librarian, whoever it may be. You can ask questions to the adults separately, like go to the principal and say, oh, well, this is what I've noticed. What do I do with this information? It depends on the situation, obviously. But yeah, if you feel like the child's in immediate danger,
and that we need to do.
That you need to deal with instantly. If you have a suspicion of abuse, we can't just say nothing. No, you have to act on it. You have to.
So how do the people in your organization and you yourself get into a position in somebody's life? So let's say I actually saw somebody and I thought, I know that they're getting bullied at school, and maybe having somebody, bring them to school on a motorcycle, would be just enough of a badass kind of thing that the bullies would leave them alone, or give them just enough confidence to kind of stride in there and go, you know what, you're not messing with me today, right? Yeah. How do we get them involved with people like you? How do you guys become part of their circle of trust?
So we're approached by the guardian or the parent or whoever it might be for the child to be part of our organization. We then we get to know the kid, right? Like we match them up with people that click. Yeah. Right?
I mean, for instance, you wouldn't want somebody who's looking for more of a mother role to be paired up with somebody who was a guy, big, burly, scary kind of person.
Right. That's right.
So that's what you do.
That's right.
So as an adult who's concerned and I see something, my best course of action is to then go to you or go to the parents of that child and say, maybe we could connect these two and help.
You know what? Give the information to the parents, absolutely. Go to our website, check us out.
Okay.
Pass the information along.
What is it you guys do and how?
Okay, I'm going to read our mission statement.
Okay.
Because I think that really sums it up really well. So the mission of the Guardians of the Children is to recognize and react to child abuse and educate the public to do the same, to serve as advocates, to provide strength and stability to families in crisis, and be the answer to the prayer of an abused child or teen for courage, support, and protection. And our tagline is, don't let your silence drown out their cries.
Can you repeat that?
Don't let your silence drown out their cries.
Perfect. Okay. So what would you like us all to know?
The Guardians of the Children Canada was founded in 2014. Our Little Guardian program, which is quite something. Children that come to us that want to be adopted in, and there is an actual adoption, into our group, are asked by the president if they want to be adopted into the Guardians of the Children. They want to be a little guardian, and they get all excited and they say yes. There's a whole ceremony that goes around. We all show love and support to our kids, and then they get to go for a ride on the motorcycle, which is always pretty cool.
I'm sure it is.
Which is very empowering too. It's actually a pretty emotional day for for children, yeah, because they're
becoming part of something.
Yeah, and extends their family base too, right?
Yes.
It shows a lot of strength and stability and support. So, and that's what these kids need, and they need consistency.
You know what? That's what all people need.
Yes.
As adults, we've figured out how to go get it. Kids don't, so we have to do that.
That's right.
So, last call out. What would you like to tell parents that they should be doing?
Just always be on the lookout. Always. If you see something that's not right, speak up. Ask the questions. Protect the child. Do what you have to do. Don't pretend like you're not seeing it.
Good advice. So we've been able to talk to Cruzz Control today about, from an expert's point of view, because of the job that she does. She works with children on a regular basis. And if you've noticed at all, the theme that we seem to be having a lot on our parenting talk show is that we want to try to break that cycle for our children so that they are not hurt and so that the hurt isn't going to continue. So along with Cruzz Control and a few of the people that, go back and check their interviews, because you're going to see they've all been wonderful. We're going to have this roundtable event happening soon, and I'm not sure if we're going to do one or several, but we want you to be part of that, so stay looking out for that. But Cruzz Control is one of the guardians of the children, and she would be an excellent person for you to reach out to if you are seeing something that just doesn't seem to be right. And if you were like me when I was raising my kids and I knew something was right and I didn't know what to do, here's a great resource. Just come and talk to them and they will be able to help you. But hopefully even just this interview today would be enough information for you to be able to start reaching out to that child. Let's try to stop that cycle now. Let's give that child somebody that they feel, somebody cares about me. And you be that person. There's no reason why we have to go to another organization. I'm grateful that you guys are there. But if you see it, then that means this is your responsibility. One step at a time. Just be there for them. Time was said. Unconditional love was said. Speak words of love and care, and I'm proud of you over them. Find some way to connect. And as Cruzz Control said, if for some reason that connection just isn't there between you and them, find somebody who can do that. And as always, we want to wish you an awesome day.
Thank you.